Which industry should you actually go after PR in? Hi guys, my name's Deepak Shukla, founder at Pearl Lemon PR. We're a public relations agency based in the UK, USA, as well as Uganda, and serving clients worldwide. And welcome back to day number 4 of our 39 days of public relations training. And today we're going to be talking about which industries you should actually go after getting PR in. But before we get into it, feel free to click the link in the description below to get access to 11 additional strategies that are not going to be shared in this training. So this is something that's sometimes missed a little bit because depending upon what your aims are within public relations, there are potentially a multitude of places that a company could go and get PR in. And that's where thinking about this comes into mind. So to give you an example, at Pearl Lemon, we want to grow, let's say we've grown my personal brand through, for example, a number of publications. But the end game, let's say, is to help Pearl Lemon make more sales. Let's just say that as an example, right? So I produce this free content in the hope that I can provide value and that some of you would be interested in taking up services from Pearl Lemon PR or for entering our training program, right? Or you'll just watch the free content and use it and off you go, right? So there'll be some variation of that. But let's just say there's some sales intent involved. So with that in mind, then what would help me service that? It's by getting, let's say, quality links, exposure, and distribution, and being seen as an expert. Okay, and being seen as an expert in the space of, let's say, PR. So then, with that in mind, what is it that I could comment upon? So this is where the industries comes into play. Okay, so I could so let's now map out a couple of things about me, Deepak Shukla. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll exit this and I'm going to Google myself and I'm going to, note down a couple of things that seem evident. Okay, so this guy's killing me. So let's then see. So first of all, I'm the founder of the Pearl Lemon Group. Okay. Second of all, I'm British Indian. Third of all, we have spaces in recruitment, sales training, all of these areas. Okay. Third of all, I've done a couple of TED Talks, as we can see here. So we've got a couple of things that are happening here. So we've got I'm British Indian. Okay. So I can potentially speak about anything that relates to the British Indian diaspora and community in, for example, the UK. That's number one. Number two, I could also talk about being an entrepreneur. I could also talk about being a founder of a marketing agency. These are two similar, but there's some distinctions. Okay, so entrepreneurship, founders, and then let's say business also. So the business bucket, so the EFB, we've got this here. Okay, I've also then could talk about potentially any of these areas. Okay, one, recruitment. So that's let's see, let's scrub that out. We've got one here. We've got sales training there, so that's anything that's sales. We've got lead generation, let's say, that's 3. We've got accounting, that's 4. And we've got consulting, that's 5. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've just identified, just through looking at this, 7 areas that I could potentially speak towards that are all distinct in different areas. We've got stuff that relates to, let's say, my British ethnicity. We've got stuff that relates to entrepreneurship, founding, and businesses, which is arguably a couple within its own right, but we'll say that that's 2 just for argument's sake. So let me just so we've got 1 here, we've got 2 there, and we've got 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so we've got 7 in the end areas. And this is what I want to try and key you into, that there's a lot of angles just for myself. So think about ultimately what that means for your industries. Think about what does that mean to exactly the amount of industries that you can go into. And then you can expand that out, for example, because I've just thought of another idea. What about my well, rather, if you're thinking about, let me reframe that. If you're thinking about your company and the people within your company, what about interesting elements of your company and the people within your company? Because then again, that expands the angles quite significantly because they've all got. So I use the word founder, which is actually my job title. Okay, let's say. So what about the different job titles within your company? What about then what that could mean they can speak towards? What about the different ethnicities within your company? What about anything that's quite interesting within your company? It really does open up the kimono when it comes to industries that you could go after PR in, depending upon what the ultimate end game is, okay? Depending upon what it is that you're trying to achieve. But really what I want to underline to you in this video is that there are multiple industries that you could look at and go into, and that's without even considering, for example, your commentary on anything as an expert, okay? So, as an expert commentator, you could then technically comment upon anything. So that could then lead you into current affairs. So I've been on the BBC from time to time because they asked me about what do I think about COVID restrictions? What do I think about the new, for example, announcement by Sadiq Khan, or basically, what do I think about some new, tax legislation that comes out? What do I think about, for example, what else has it that I've been on? What about cancel culture? I think was another one. So if you become an expert commentator, you can then write up your commentary on potentially anything. So that would lead you into the news affairs. So there are no shortage and multitudes of industries that you could go into. Then there's, British Indians and their relationship with India. So you can keep spinning out the angles and therefore, let's say the industries that you could go and get PR in so many innumerable ways. And it really pays to think laterally about, for example, what industries, because again, also, I've not, if we go back to myself, as I begin to think about more angles, what about where you do anything that's like health and fitness? So I do marathons, so I could then talk about marathon running. I have a cat, so I could talk about my experience as a pet owner. I could talk about, I've got quite a lot of tattoos, so I could talk about tattoos. I could comment upon stuff like that. So marathons, cats, tattoos. Do you see how, as you begin to think about the industries where you could potentially go after, then you need to look at all of them and map them out and think about which one has the most alignment to my ultimate end goal. So aligning the industries you could go after with your end goal is going to help you determine what are the best ways to go and get the public relations you're after.